Now I'd like to talk briefly about a very interesting subject called pH balance. There's a great quote by one of the modern experts in pH and health, Dr. Robert Young. If the fish is sick, then change the water. So the idea here is that we have something called a biological terrain. What that means is that we have an inner environment. Now that's seen in the world of Ayurveda, it's seen in the world of Chinese medicine. They may look at things in terms of there's a cold environment, a damp inner environment, a hot environment, a dry environment. We can have all those environments inside the body. We also have a terrain of a particular pH. And as Dr. Young says, we don't grow old, we mold. And what that means is that based on the inner terrain, if that inner terrain has a particular pH, then the tissues in the body, the cells in the body, will actually over time turn into a particular type of fungus and begin to decay. So the biological terrain is very important. And the way to measure our pH, or the significance of the pH, is that in a particular pH level, the blood tends to be very healthy and the tissues tend to be very healthy. It's kind of like a swimming pool, where if the pH is such, then no bacteria can actually survive in that swimming pool. But if it goes out of that level, then algae can grow, bacteria can grow. So if the pH is proper, then those things will not grow. If the pH in our body is proper, then we will not have excessive fungus, we won't have mold, we won't have parasites, we won't have bacteria, we won't have viruses that can take hold very effectively. So balancing the pH is very important. You can measure it by getting a pH strip from a pharmacy. And what I recommend is simply tearing off a piece and measuring your first and second urine of the morning. By doing that, the urine in the morning should be anywhere from 6.0 to 6.4. That's slightly acidic because at night, when you pee or when you sleep, you're eliminating acid waste first thing in the morning. If your pH is less than 6.0, that's really acidic, then that means you have a lot of acid. But what you got to do is an hour or so later, take your pH again of the urine and see what it is. And now if it's gone up to about 6.4, then you know what, your body has adjusted. It's eliminated a lot of acid waste and it's been able to adjust and come back to a normal place. But if it's still acidic, that means that your tissues are definitely acidic. And when they're acidic, guess what? That's when fungus, mold, bacteria, virus, lack of oxygen, and then lack of oxygen has been associated with diseases such as cancer. The pH is also affected by diet, by thoughts and actions, meaning if we're under a lot of stress, that will impact our pH. The pH of the blood is very important. The blood should be slightly alkaline. The pH scale goes from 0 to 14. 7 is neutral. The blood likes to be about 7.3, 7.4, slightly alkaline. Now, when the blood, due to diet, lifestyle, thoughts, behaviors, starts to go acid, the body will take different minerals, carbonates, sodium, calcium, citrates, magnesium from the tissues in the bone into the bloodstream to keep the blood alkaline. The body will do whatever it can to keep the blood in the right pH. In fact, it doesn't care as much if other tissues suffer, because if the blood goes out of its pH zone, we go unconscious or we die. So there's a priority there. It's a very important priority. But when we eat a lot of sugar, when we eat a lot of meat, when we drink a lot of coffee, when we're under a lot of stress, we start to become very acidic. So now the body's robbing these minerals and nutrients into the bloodstream. This then puts a great deal of stress on the kidneys, and the body starts excreting too much calcium and too many minerals, which then causes an acidity situation and then leads to things like osteoporosis. Now, the other thing with when these minerals get into the bloodstream, it causes clumping of the red blood cells. This is really a problem because a red blood cell is like a disc. It carries oxygen. It can swivel through the blood vessels into the little capillaries, bringing oxygen and nutrients. When the blood gets clumpy, it's like all the red blood cells clump onto each other. It looks like a big snake. So there's much less surface area for those red blood cells. They can't carry as much oxygen, and they can't get to the extremities. So one reason why people have poor circulation, numbness and tingling in their fingers, it can be due to acidity and diet, because their blood is not carrying those nutrients and oxygen to the extremities properly. So pH, oxygen, and cellular health, the reality is when the cells don't get the nutrition, when a cell doesn't get oxygenation properly, they're not able to excrete toxins and take in nutrients. Eventually that cell can transform into a toxic cell, and then the understanding and the pH understanding is that cell can then at some point transform into a cancerous cell. So keeping our pH in its optimal zone is highly important. And there's many good pH charts, and there is one on our website that gives you an idea of what foods are acid, what foods are alkaline. But I will tell you, sugar, meat, dairy are all very acidic. Sugar is one of the most acidic things you can possibly eat. And people eat a lot of red meat, generally are very, very acidic. Health is a proper relationship between the microcosm, which is man, and the macrocosm, which is the universe. Disease is a disruption of this relationship. This is a beautiful quote by Dr. Yeshe Donden, the physician to the Dalai Lama. So, following a very healthy alkaline forming diet, that means about 80% of your diet should be alkaline and about 20% should be acid. Healthy acid foods. We need the acid that helps create energy. We don't want to just do 100% alkaline, but keeping your body slightly alkaline makes everybody feel so much better. And the Healing Essence Total Life Cleanse recommends the same.